Hey, welcome back to another show. Talking points tonight, why Chicago is turning into a fucking war zone. And here's another thing. I want to say one thing right now. This show tonight was absolutely inspired by some great conversations I had yesterday evening with some awesome people. I'd like to throw out there to Angelo, Charlotte, Rob, Carrie, all you crazy bastards hanging out there around the Cleveland area, smoking stogies and having some sarsaparillas. Thank you very much for the inspiration on tonight's show. You kept me up all night thinking about this, fucker. It's going to be a good one. I guarantee it. And a couple more things that I want to throw out there. The hurricane out there that's pounding the Gulf. My sister Meg and everyone else down there. We love you very much. Stay safe, keep your phones charged, and hunker down, man. And you're going to get through this. We're all going to get through this. I'm up here in Chicago, half drunk. Cheers. But we're going to get through this. I give you my worthless word. And another thing, speaking of Chicago, because that's going to be the topic of tonight's show once we get rolling here. That reminds me of a little story. There are 3 streets in the city of Chicago. 3 streets in the city of Chicago that all rhyme with the name vagina. That's Paulina, Carolina, and Lunt. All right, I thought it was good. It's funny in some circles. All right, let's get going.
Break 'em on. This is America First Radio. Patriots, get your ears on because we're blowing the speakers out.
Lefty G. It is time for the Lefty G Show. The only show to get you right. Get ready to get right with Lefty. Your voice taking you down Freedom Road. Now, here's your host, Lefty G.
Let's hit the fucking road!
All right, we are ready to roll, and this is going to be a pretty interesting show. I think it's going to be one very close to my heart. I'm a Chicago guy. I love the city of Chicago. I love everything about it. I love the beefs, and yes, our pizza is better than you New York bastards. I still love you guys, great people. I think New Yorkers get a bad rap because of Philadelphia. I really got to tell you, of all the places I've traveled in business, I would have to say that Philadelphia is probably up there in my don't go back unless I lose a bet. No offense to Philadelphians, but you guys were the assholes that booed Santa Claus. But I think New Yorkers get a bad rap from Philly because New Yorkers like you till they don't till you give them a reason not to. But most of the time, every New Yorker, I've always said, will always give you the shirt off their back. But I do got to say, the hell with you and your that little cracker with ketchup over the top, Thai style pizza. Get some deep dish, man. Get a real pie. Welcome to Chicago. But yeah, so tonight's show is going to be a lot about that. It's going to be a lot about talking about what's happening now in the city of Chicago and how it's really going to be a powder keg here pretty soon. And I'm concerned about that, and I'm not really sure how to go with it. Other than just to kind of let me take you down history road here. Let me back up here. So, in 1871, a little old Irish lady, right? It's always the fucking Irish, right? But a little old Irish lady and her cow knocked over a lantern and burned the whole city of Chicago down, right to the fucking ground. And since then, the city was rebuilt by the best workers, and we gave the whole world the best skyline the world has ever seen. And since then, and at one time, Chicago was well known. It was a well-known city and a well-known port of entry for immigrants looking for work. They were going to come into the stockyards, the steel mills, the factories, all that kind of stuff. We were the place of the world's fair at one time. And that's got to mean something comparatively to where we are now. And when I was a kid, the city had a very European ethnic feel to it. There were Polish neighborhoods, Italian, Irish, German. There were Greek neighborhoods. Now there are many Hispanic neighborhoods, African American, Asian, Arabic, and look, that's not a bad thing either. I'm just saying though that it's interesting to me to see how a city changes. And I forgot who said it. And I literally tried to remember, but I couldn't by the time I started the show here tonight. But somebody at one time said, and it was an interesting comment and so true, that what they said was, what Chicago is, Illinois shall be. And I know that we're here tonight to talk on the hellhole that is Chicago, but I'd like to give you a brief highlight on what's happening in Illinois, largely because of Chi-Town and the liberal mentality therein. So while I'm talking here, I want you guys to think for a second that Chicago itself is the toilet, and the toilet is overflowing, and all the shit and the turds and the tampons and all that other kinds of crap are just flowing out all over the bathroom floor, and the bathroom floor is Illinois. All right, that's a good mental picture for you. But this is going to help me preface that what exactly is going on in this beloved city. You know, Chicago itself, and it's really 7, collar counties, feel like different. It feels like a different state from the rest of Illinois, and there's a good reason why. Apart from the fact that we got a bunch of Libby-Lou-Hoo Democrat, fucks that are running it. But here's the thing: you only have to drive an hour south to feel like you're in a different area entirely. As most of Illinois, outside of Chicago, for those of you folks who aren't from here, or have never been here, for those of you folks that don't know this, here's a little story for you. For those who do know it, you're going to relate and fall asleep thinking about all the cornfields and soybean fields you pass driving past Kankakee. But you feel like you're in a different area in that area of Chicago. And if you drive an hour south, you feel like you've completely gone to Kansas, where most of Illinois outside of Chicago is pretty solidly Republican. And for the most part, rural. The northeast counties are solidly Republican, having a higher income level, whereas the southern counties are solidly farm-based economies. All right? You with me so far? So here we go. If you were to remove Chicago and Chicagoland completely, you would have a completely different political climate in Illinois. And the Democrat machine's gears would literally cease to roll. Get what I'm saying to you? Illinois is because of the liberal crap being produced out of Chicago, because the Chicago toilet is overflowing with all the fucking turds. Of course, if this was J.D. Pritzker's house, the toilets would be out and this wouldn't really be a house. So that fat bastard, we're going to get to him in a minute. But Chicago really is a giant financial suck in comparison to what is distributed to the rest of Illinois. And it's completely the fault of the democratically run city of Chicago and their deranged and fucked up policies. And we're going to talk about one tonight that's pretty huge. But let me go back to this. Let me finish up here with Illinois here for a second. Most of southern Illinois feels more aligned with like Missouri and Kentucky than Chicago due to their common interest down there. Chicago is definitely a city-state into its own, and the result of decades upon decades of Democrat rule are now to a point where they literally can't hide their policy results anymore. It's a fucking disaster. And what we're going to be talking about on tonight's show is going to prove what an absolute magnanimous fuckhole Chicago has become. But going back to Illinois in a nutshell, and this is how Illinois ranks nationally. We're 23rd in health, we're 11th in education, we're 39th in economy, we're 26th in infrastructure, we're 12th in opportunity, we're 50th dead fucking last in fiscal stability, we're 16th in crime. Hey, a lot of places safer than Illinois right now thanks to Chicago, and we're 43rd in natural environment. I got to be honest with you, Lincoln would be rolling in his grave right now to the point where we could literally just electrically charge every Tesla fake car on the planet. But I digress. So the Democrat politicians here in the state, starting with old Fatso himself, Pugsley Adams, a.k.a. Governor J.D. Pritzker, do absolutely dick in this state other than sit around making new laws, putting up new traffic cameras, and finding out a way to steal from us. And in reality, my constitutional attitude is to be left the fuck alone. But, Democrats, unlike any other party that we have in the land, you take maybe the Communist America Party, which is that one's for you pricks. But you take the Green Party, you take the Republican Party, you take any of these other parties, they pretty much leave you alone. But the Democrats, they just can't fucking do that. They just can't do that. They want to shove every, meaningless whack job policy and everything up your ass. And my constitutional belief is leave me alone. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But the Democrats can't do that. So what I'm here to talk about is we have some of the highest gas taxes in the country. We need school choice in the state. These teachers, by and large, not all of them, but the majority, don't really want to go to work, but they all want more money. This corrupt organization of the teachers union here in Chicago needs to be taken on and revamped completely. The public school system here is a fucking joke, and they prepare you for servitude to the Democrat machine. That's all it is. It's a big cycling process for the dummy craps. Much like the welfare program does in this state. Think about that. Also a big proponent to the dummy craps. The welfare programs. It's a new form of slavery if you want to think about it. And historically speaking, of course, the Democrats are the authors of slavery in this country. Let's not forget that. Now, let's go back to what's happening in Chicago right now due to the Democrat policies and the government therein. This is a true story here, folks, and this is what's breaking right now. But a lot of legacy media is not playing it right now because they're suppressing the absolute insane Democrat fuck up of these open border policies. But here it is: Chicago gangbangers face off against newly arrived Venezuelan migrants. I mean, this city literally is going to go up into flames, folks. It's going to go up into fucking flames right now. The tension between the Chicago black gangs and the newly arrived migrants is already caused turf wars in the city and shootings. All right. So one of the migrant Venezuelan gangs makes MS-13 of Mexico. You guys remember those scumbags, right? These guys make them look like child's play. Their name is Tren de Aragagua is the name of the one gang. And there's a video that I'm going to show you right now that is largely suppressed by the mainstream media. And it's literally, as I said before, it's suppressed by the mainstream media regarding this invasion by these illegal alien gangs. Courtesy, and I'm going to say this right now, courtesy of the liberal agenda not wanting to expose the colossal fuck up of their open border policies. And so when you guys check this video out, take a minute and check this out, because this is going to hit you hard. This is happening in Chicago right now. Not a year ago, not 10 years ago. This is happening right now. And there's more to the story when I get back after the video, so check this out. Stick around. Watch this.
The migrants that are coming, they're taking over every block right now.
The city of Chicago is going to go up in smoke. It's going to go up in flame.
Gangs in Chicago are angry over the influx of migrants and criminals in their city.
Gangs in Chicago.
They say money that should be going to the African-American community on the South Side is instead going to what they call non-citizens, and warn that turf wars between Chicago's gangs and groups like Venezuela's Tren de Aragua could see Chicago, quote, go up in flames. Photographer Matt McDermott and I traveled to Chicago's South Side to see what was happening for ourselves after we heard about a police report last month that the Tren de Aragua gang had taken over an office building there. We spoke to a number of young, hardcore gang members, as well as gang elders who have retired from the life, and just regular citizens who are very much part of the community. And they're all furious at the estimated $500 million that's reportedly been funneled toward new migrants in Chicago since 2022. And they aren't happy either about what they say are Venezuelan criminal gangs that are leaving the shelters and spilling out into the South Side into abandoned buildings. I spoke to Tyrone Muhammad of Ex-Cons for Trump, who runs a street patrol and violence prevention program. He's gone straight since his days as an enforcer for the Gangster Disciples. And he said the situation is very tense on the South Side as turf battles between the local gangs and Venezuelan migrants heat up.
It is impossible to release gang members and criminals into our country through the borders and broken walls, and infiltrate them in our community that's already impoverished, that's already broken, that's already disinvested. And when the black gangs, the leadership in the black gangs in Chicago get fed up with the illegalities and the criminal activity of these migrants or non-citizens, the city of Chicago is going to go up in smoke, it's going to go up in flame, and there's going to be nothing that the National Guard or our government can do about it when the bloodshed hit the streets, blacks against migrants.
Zach Massey did time in state prison with Tyrone Muhammad, although he's only 27. He's a leader on the streets and said he's disgusted by the money going to Venezuelan migrants at the expense, he says, of the African-American community.
And I finally, actually talked to him on the translator app, and he told me all the things that he got going on, how they help him get a car, apartment, clothes, link. So it's just I just be looking at it like they ain't got no Social Security, no, where they come from. He probably not even here legally.
They get right here, they get quick housing, quick funding, food. They get cars with no license. They can't even read English and stuff like that. So they get all these perks when they get here.
There it is, man. This is an invasion. By any other terms, by any other way you want to look at it, this is literally an invasion. Donald Trump has been talking about these Venezuelan migrants and gangs since before his presidency, since about the time that he got elected. The man was warning us about the caravans and referring to it as an invasion, which that is exactly what it is. And here we are. Here we are now because of liberal, retarded policies. Chicago is on the brink of burning down, probably to the likes that's going to make the 1968 Democratic Convention, laughable. And for gang members, think about this. Gang members in Chicago, one of the toughest, most dangerous places on the planet. These gangbangers are complaining that other gangs are coming into their city and aren't even supposed to be in the fucking country. So we got American gangbangers against illegal immigrant gangbangers in our city of Chicago, our Democrat-run city of Chicago for decades and decades and decades. Trust you me, this is going to be ugly. These Venezuelan gangs are not only taking away government resources from the Chicago gangs, but now moving into territories, selling drugs, extorting people, and taking over apartment buildings, right? Basically moving in on their racket, on these Chicago gangs' rackets. This is going to get ugly, and it's going to get ugly fast. The irony here is this. These Chicago gangs are now talking about building up their communities and building a better tomorrow. So this is what happens. We've got these once hardened criminals that are turning around going, yeah, you know what? This sucks. I think I want something a little bit different. The irony here is stifling. No, now remember, these local gangs that are into prostitution, gambling, street drugs, the big three and all that kind of stuff, that's what they traffic in. Now they're saying that they feel that these gangs from Venezuela are in the major league of crime and violence. This article I was reading, that was one of the things that they said. One gang member made the comment that they were college level, meaning the Chicago-based gangs were college-level athletes, and these migrants were Olympic-level athletes. Think about that. That's how unmatched and probably better prepared these Venezuelan illegal fucking scumbag immigrants are coming into this country than our own, God love them, Chicago gangbangers. What? It's crazy to even hear myself say that. But let me go on a deeper topic here on what the liberal Democrat policies have done to this beloved city of mine, Chicago. The city has spent for this, and you ready for this? This is a real number. The city has spent $500 million. The city. Not the state or the federal government, the goddamn city of Chicago has spent $500 million on 42,000 migrants since 2022. With report of Venezuelan gangs infiltrating neighborhoods, committing crimes against entrenched black gangs. That's what's been happening over the last 2 years. That's exactly what's been going on. And let me repeat. In 2 years, the city of Chicago has spent $500 million on 42,000 migrants who have been here the last 2 years. I mean, just do some really quick math here. Let me help you all kind of understand what the reasoning behind this is. And this trickles all the way back up to Camel Toe Harris. All right, let's be very serious here. This fucking border czar. The border has been wide open like a crack whore on discount night since this administration took office in 2020. And this is the reason behind all of this. This is the goal from the powers that be, the Bidens, the Harrises, the Obamas, and the like. They are letting more of these dirtbags come into this country and you know, let's just park the terrorists here for a second. Let's just park all them. Let's just put the, you know, I always say with the terrorists, you know, the people in the Middle East, there's two different types, right? There's the 9/11s and the 7/11s. I heard that from a girl once. She told me that. You know, Camille, thank you. But the Venezuelan president emptied out the jails, and all of these people are coming in, and nothing is being done about it. So what's the purpose, you ask? What is it? What's the purpose of why this is happening? This sure as shit ain't a humanitarian thing, and these cretins are in this country. These Venezuelan shitbags, these poor Venezuelan gangsters, these murderers, they're here. So what's the point, you ask? Why are they here? Why is everyone so goddamn silent on it? Why aren't the dummy craps talking about this? Why isn't the mainstream media pouring the stuff, you know, down our throats that look what's happening here? Because you know, if this is a Republican initiative, this was Trump that kept the borders open, this is what they'd be talking about. Let me put it into perspective. $500 million over 2 years for 42,000 illegal shitbags is for each, somewhere in the ballpark of, you know, what is it? You know, $1,000 a month, $12,000 a year, each one, blah, blah, blah. You know, do the math. The Democrats brought them in here. These liberal commie cunts are going to get is that they're going to lose the country. If this isn't stopped, this is exactly what's going to be happening here. So here's the thing. This is exactly the reason Trump is the only one consistently talking about eliminating sanctuary cities across the United States. Okay? That's what he's talking about. That's what Trump wants to see. He wants to eliminate sanctuary cities across. It is the responsibility of Congress to pass laws to outlaw the practice of sanctuary cities as a whole nationwide. Our country is becoming way more tolerant. You know, hey, let's let everybody in. Our churches have become way more tolerant. You know, they're not doing this in Islam. You know, say what you want about that, but the Islamic churches aren't doing this. They're not tolerant for shit. Our government is now tolerant on anything. Our companies, our corporations are tolerant of it all and pandering to the world woke mob. And at what point is, you know, and as I said in a previous show, and I don't remember which one it was because this is our only fourth show, but if I can go back to that, you know, the fact is that our tolerance, whenever you look at tolerance, it's something you usually that thing usually sucks. Tolerance usually sucks. Remember that. Anything you got to tolerate. But look, folks, these other countries like Venezuela, Mexico, El Salvador, etc., you know, they aren't sending their best and brightest to America. Fact. And yeah, whatever. You know, I'm sure there's a few people in that mix that aren't bad. But let me ask you all: would you eat the corn kernel out of a turd simply because it was surrounded by the turd? None of these illegals are our responsibility unless they come into this country via Ellis Island or other naturalized legal ways. Beyond that, they're a fucking invasion, period. No other way to put it. And here's the thing, let me say this too. To my African-American folks living in Chicago, this is what happens. This is absolutely what happens when you're living on the welfare state and relying on the government to pay your bills and keep you afloat. And you're not doing it on your own. You're not providing your own living, so you're sucking off the tit. All the government is doing is sharing a tit. And you're pissed off because the nipple's out of your mouth right now. So I want you to understand that. You're not paying your bills. You're not doing anything to keep yourself afloat, and you're not doing anything on your own. That's what happens when you're in a welfare state. What happens is the welfare state is going to control where they want to put out the money. And voila, all of a sudden, they're prioritizing illegals over their own citizens. And here's the message to the black communities in Chicago and throughout the country. The Democrats are actively working to replace you as a voting demographic. Wake the fuck up. You're Americans. Wake up and understand that you got to bootstrap yourselves just like anybody. I don't give a shit if you're pink and purple polka dots. We all have to do this as Americans. The Democratic Party's wide lead over the Republicans in black Americans' party preference has shrunk by nearly 20 points. That's a ton over the past 3 years. There's a link in the description of the show here that you guys should take a look at that'll talk to that. And believe you me, the liberals are well aware of this. Hence the flooding of America by illegals who have no other purpose to be here other than to change the demographics of this country and to provide votes for the Democrats. And as I said before, there's a link in the show notes here below that I thought maybe you could take a look at if you want to read up on it. And here's the thing. I'd like to round out with a brief chat on the environment here in Chicago that has been cultivated in order to make this type of chaos flourish in the city of Chicago. So here it is. Chicago is ranked consistently in the top 10 year after year in terms of gun control. Most of the time, Chicago is in the top 3 as far as restrictions and strict laws on gun control specifically. Chicago is also in the top 3 in homicide, gun violence, mass shootings, and the leading, if not the leading in the entire United States of all of those, okay? They're the highest murder rates by city in the U.S. for 2020 so far. I mean, not Chicago, but here are the highest. St. Louis, Baltimore, New Orleans, Detroit, Vegas, Kansas City, Memphis, Newark, and Chicago. Again, Chi-Town is in the top 10. But normally, the year's not over. They're competing within the top 3. Don't worry about it. We'll get there, especially what's happening right now in the city of Chicago. So look, if things are so bad in the state of Illinois, maybe allow good citizens without background issues. And what I mean by that is felonies, severe misdemeanors, psychological issues, and the like. Allow them to carry guns, even open carry, like the wild fucking West. Because I believe not only is it that it's our constitutional right, but it would make anywhere besides Chicago, any place, a heck of a lot safer. California. Let me just throw this out there because my brain is kind of dumping out here. Let me get a little grab a beer here. But California and Illinois, they have the strictest gun laws by policy in the country. Illinois, I think, is somewhere around 42 specific policies against gun carry and possession, and California has like 45. They're number 1. Idaho, as a side note, has 4, and is open carry. And Idaho is also one of the safest states in America. Gee, I wonder why that is. So here's some child's logic that I'd like to share with everybody, and a great policy for anyone to run for office on. Just saying. With all of these illegals coming in, they're not afraid of you because they have guns. These Venezuelan cunts have proven they're walking around with fucking guns and good ones. They have illegal guns. However, the legal people who live and pay taxes here and follow the laws we have in this state and in this country, we're going to allow you to open carry your weapons moving forward. Right now, the background check. I mean, think about that, first of all, as a policy for anybody that wants to run for office. That might go over really well, I believe. It's a very constitutional-based policy. I'd like to see somebody do it. Just saying. But right now, the background check for a firearm here in the state of Illinois is 72 hours. Now, let's contemplate this. California, waiting period is like 30 days. Imagine if the Dems tried to copy that for Illinois. Waiting 30 days with the climate and everything else that's happening in the city of Chicago, and the city of Chicago is about ready to, go fucking bananas. There are thousands, folks. There are thousands of these Venezuelan gang members in Chicago alone. I mean, to the non-gangbanger citizens of Chicago, let me just ask you this little question here. You guys have put up with a lot of bullshit in your neighborhoods, 87th and Cottage Grove neighborhood and Inglewood and all the Garfield Park and all these different neighborhoods. You guys have put up with a lot of shit, man. Bullets flying through your kitchen windows and, walls and, drive-bys and all that other kind of bullshit over the years. But how are you going to protect yourselves now? You're living in a city that restricts you and takes away your God-given right to protect yourself against these kind of vermin. How are you going to protect yourselves? Again, the illegal shitbags that aren't even supposed to be in this fucking country have guns, and the gangbangers have guns. And thank God for that, I guess, right now, because they're talking about, at least for whatever purpose, they're gonna defend our soil. Our Democrat politicians are going to do that. But the bad guys aren't having a problem getting guns in these gun-free zones. In the absence of citizens having the way to protect themselves, to me, this is the answer to have that done. I mean, unless, what are you going to do now? You're going to have the National Guard come in to protect and keep peace. The only way to fix the situation, I'm afraid, is to fight fire with fire. But I think that, adding in, the National Guard is kind of a late answer. But and I guess I'm going to wrap up the show with this here. I'm a Chicago guy. I love Chicago. I grew up a Bears fan. I'm still a Bears fan. Fortunately or unfortunately, I don't even know how many fucking quarterbacks we've had now. And yes, I still hang on the ass end of the 85 win. So leave me alone. 09 doesn't count. I love it. I love the city. I love the beefs. I love, the Polish sausages. I love the pizza. I love old style beer. I love it all. And I got to tell you, I'm a Chicago guy. I'm one of the few guys that's a Cubs fan and a White Sox fan. I guess that makes me, what do they call it? Bisexual. And you know what? This is my city. And when I see that what the watershed moment here of what these Democrat policies are doing, and every other city like it. I mean, you take New York, you take, you take, I'm sure Cleveland is that way. You take San Francisco, or I like to call it San Francisco, Los Angeles. Any city that is run by Democrats is a fucking shithole. And it's been that way for decades upon decades upon decades. The place just sucks. And as a country, as a populace, we got to do something about it. We have to, and I hope a little bit for a little while every night. This show helps you do that. But hey, if you like what you hear on the show, then you're obviously a very smart person and you know what you're facing. So please like, subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell button to continue being part of the Lefty G experience. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and close the show. But love all you guys, and remember, peace through strength.